2 more minutes.
Sure.
Yes, sir, we'll start. So, good morning to one and all present here. On behalf of Vanimiller Engineering College, Department of Computer Science and Engineering, I am happy to welcome our guest of honor, Mr. V.P. Rakesh. He is working as a manager, delivery excellence. Sorry, there was a technical issue. Alright, so we will start. So, good morning to one and all. On behalf of Vanimiller Engineering College, Department of Computer Science and Engineering, I am happy to welcome our guest of honor, Mr. V.P. Rakesh. He is working as a manager, delivery excellence in Cognizant technology solutions. He has more than 11 years of professional experience in various software companies such as Virtusa, Inotics, Polaris, etc. He is also a certified Scrum Master. So now I will hand over the session to our guest of honor. Please, sir, you can continue.
Thanks, Balaji. Thanks for that intro. Hi, guys. This is Rakesh here, and I am very glad that Balaji has facilitated this guest lecture in Vanimiller College of Engineering, and I thank one and all to be facilitating this session. I'm so excited to meet you all as part of this session. It is a small world, right? Whenever we go, we are connected. Thanks to the digital age and gadgets, technologies have brought us together and as well as made distance to near ones, right? We are in a consumer world where many products and services decide our day-to-day life. Without watching on YouTube or Netflix or any other OTT platform, our day never ends, right? Long before when software products are taking the most of our times, right? There used to be days where the manufacturing companies and the manufacturing company owners used to be the billionaires. That was a manufacturing era where good manufacturers will be the billionaires or millionaires those days, right? And by now, it has switched to the software providers. Can you name some billionaires that comes right to your mind right now? Any billionaires? Guys, am I audible?
Yes, sir, you are audible. I think students can post up their answers in the chat session.
Oh, I need to check the chat, is it? Okay. Guys, feel free to interact with me. This is going to be an interactive session. This will definitely be interesting based upon your interaction. Just name few billionaires that comes to your mind.
There was an answer given in the chat.
Yeah, I'm checking it. Bill Gates. Great. And what about Amazon owner, Jeff Bezos? Have you heard about it? Okay, let's proceed with the answer, Bill Gates. So Bill Gates is definitely a software product owner. And we all know that Microsoft has taken the world by a storm. So I bet top 3 billionaires who are being listed in the Forbes 100, right, will be from the software company who has created a software that has enriched our lives. So congrats to all of you who have selected the path as a software engineer and as your main career. So be assured that you are on the right track, and definitely one day or the other you will definitely reach that goal. Have that in your mind and have that focus. With that note, let's start with the services and product differentiation. What is a service and what is a product? You would have heard these names, these terminologies in all your life cycles while developing a product or developing a service, right? A software can be a product as well as a service. Are you all with me? Guys, make it as interesting as possible. It is will be interesting only based upon your interaction. So there is a difference between a service and a product, right? A service can be provided to a customer from an hospital or even a daycare center, or your college, or whichever been given as a service is the education, right? It is a service. And what about a product? A product can be a physical or a virtual entity. Nowadays, it is definitely a virtual entity that meets the customer requirements, right? Either a service or a product, it is successful only if it meets the customer requirements. So, are you all with me on this point that either a service or product has to meet the customer requirements? Balaji, they can talk or they can only chat, is it?
I think they can also chat.
Yeah, guys, feel free to chat. Stop me wherever you can. So at the end of the day, it all pertains to customers' requirements and satisfaction. So how do we capture requirements, determine the success of the product or service delivery to the team, right? Thanks, Ashwini. Thanks, Sumita. And once this success of the product determination comes into picture, right, we will be moving on to the requirements capture. So unless and until it meets the customer requirements, it is not going to be termed as a successful entity, right? So with that note, what are the mobile phones do you use? Which brands do you use? I want at least 10 answers now. What mobile phones? Just name the brands you use. Samsung, great. Many Samsung users. Any iPhone users? IQ, great. 4, 5, Vivo. Guys, Redmi, fine. Oppo. And now I'm with this number of product companies listed, right? Just name a few that you will watch for, like you are recommending to a friend as a gift. Only one brand you are going to recommend. Which one would you recommend? Just one name from this. And it is free. Samsung. I'm quite surprised no one has selected iPhone, Apple. Great. So let's take Samsung. Why Samsung has created this brand value? Anyone know why Samsung has this kind of a brand value among the Android users? Yes, Jyotika, please go ahead. Balaji, someone raised a hand. Will they be able to talk?
No, the control has been disabled.
Oh, okay. Fine, then it's going to be a monologue. Please type in your messages. So Samsung has built, came a long way, and if you research on the early stages of Samsung, that they didn't open as a mobile company itself. They were a fishing company, and the travels and logistics were their main area of priority. But then nowadays, whenever there is a mobile is released in Android, right, we are looking towards Samsung because of the quality. So in order to achieve that quality, some kind of steps or some kind of methodology they would have adopted, right? So it was earlier waterfall life cycle methodology to develop any kind of product. So from end to end, right, the people used to look forward from requirements till the production, right? The product development will have a uniform life cycle that is called as a waterfall life cycle. Now we have moved to agile. So with that note, I'm moving on to the content of this session. Is my slide moving to the next slide, Balaji? Please confirm.
Yes, you can carry on.
Okay. So in this session, we will be discussing on the topics like what is agile and what is the variation between agile project and the non-agile project, and how agile is practiced and how agile works. So most of the misconception, right? We associate the terms like Scrum, Sprint, all with agile, right? But many associate the Scrum term with agile. Actually, Scrum is a framework.
Sir, can you make it as a slideshow?
Okay. Is it visible now, Balaji?
No, it has not been changed.
I need to stop sharing and just a minute. Is it visible now?
Sir, மெனுல ஸ்லைட் ஷோ இருக்கும் பாருங்க, அதை கிளிக் பண்ணுங்க.
Yeah, I'm clicking it, but it is not visible to you guys actually.
Okay.
It's opening in some other window, I think.
Okay. Visible only, sir.
Visible, right? So, what is an agile and what is a Scrum? Agile is a set of principles, whereas Scrum is a framework. So be sure whenever you are being questioned what is an agile, let them have the answer like it is a set of principles, and Scrum is going to be a framework. Okay, so and we have around 4 agile values which needs to be followed across the life cycle. One is on the individuals and interaction. The process and tools that is being used can be a shadow thing, and individuals and interaction should be given the higher priority. Working software. What is meant by working software is that any kind of a piece of code that gets executed in your system that can be used as a demo kind of thing, like it can be termed as a working software. And why we go for a comprehensive documentation is that whenever we do some kind of reviews or any kind of an artifact that is supporting your reviews, right, it will be part of the documentation that have been given the higher weightage during the waterfall lifecycle methodology. Whereas in agile, right, working software, the piece of code itself will be given the higher weightage over the comprehensive documentation. And with customer collaboration, you will be getting in touch with the customer then and there, rather than delivering the entire product and the customer doesn't feel that it is their own product. The customer collaboration will happen at every phase, right? So every iteration will take place only after the customer collaboration takes place, rather than having the contract negotiation at the initial phase and delivering the product at the end of the phase. We will be having customer collaboration at every phase. And agile is nothing but being dynamic, right? You would have searched the word agile in Google. It will definitely give you an meaning as dynamic. So what is being dynamic is responding to change. The industry has moved towards an era where then and there we are getting updates in our software, right? So responding to change comes into a major priority nowadays to keep the market alive and to be a competitor in the consumer market. So that's where agile pitches in. These are the 4 agile values that determines whether your project is following agile or not. So one will be individuals and interaction within your team over the process and tools. Any tools that use can be an second priority comparatively to the individuals and interaction. The second one will be your working software rather than your comprehensive documentation. Third one will be your customer collaboration over your contract negotiation, and you will be responding to change rather than following the plan. So these are the 4 agile values. So this is where it differs from agile and non-agile. So you get the clarity here, right? So we have around 12 agile principles. Before we jump into this agile principle, we will talk about the software development that can be compared in terms of building a house. That will be interesting. That will give you a perspective on how this can be compared, and these terms, how it has been manipulated to form this agile methodology. To start with, whenever we think to build a house, what will be our first area of interest? You are going to build a home, okay? So what will be your first starting point? Will you buy the land, go to the land and start foundation, correct? Even before the foundation, I'm asking. You will have a plan, right? Without plan, will you start the foundation? You have an empty bare land. What will be your first step to start construction? Before construction, what will you do? I need answers, guys. A plan, correct. So this plan, right, whatever we want as part of the building, it either you can start with a brand new construction, or there can be an already constructed home where you will be able to reuse those components built there. So you can build a building from the scratch, or you can have the existing one refitted based upon your needs and desires. You are with me, right? So building a house is definitely difficult. Even if you don't build it yourself, you will definitely need to know at least something about architecture and construction. The same thing applies to software as well. Using an existing and proven software will be easier, and if you don't know how to build your own software, you can use an existing and proven software that is called reusability. Whereas if you know to build your own software, you can have specific wishes to how the software needs to be developed. You can have the basics for yourself, and you need to spend a very good budget to arrive at that particular software as well. So to start with the plan, what the plan will be showing you, what the plan will enable you. Or to put it that who gives you the plan, or who designs the plan? Will it be the owner or someone else? Whoever purchased the land will be able to derive at the plan, or someone else designs the plans and give you? Correct. A designer. To be more appropriate, I will use the word architect. Okay. An architect who gives the design will get the input from the customer. Am I right? So only the customer will give the input, but the customer doesn't know how to design a building. He has the idea alone, and the architect is the technical guy who designs the property based upon the inputs received from the customer. Am I clear here? Are you all with me here? So a design that reflects how a house would look like in the exterior, rooms, floors, materials will be completely planned during that planning phase. So this is called as the design planning. So design plays a very important and vital role in designing the successful factor of that product. Okay, here our product is going to be the house, and how? So it also has another main important criteria, right? You have now designed an house. Now you need to ensure that which walls are important, which exact dimension that needs to be in, and what parts needs to be reinforced, what quality of material is to be used. Am I right? So in this case, the first one, what we mentioned earlier, right? It is called as a functional design. It will be having the exterior design, the rooms and the floor map. Okay. And the second thing, which had the exact dimension of each and every room, the quality of materials being used. So that is called as a technical design. So now we are clear about the functional design and the technical design, right? So as a client that doesn't know much about construction, you will be probably not having an idea about what a construction is. There is a good practice to hire an architect where the construction is made by a different party, and this architect will help you to design and arrive at your requirements, and this plan, whatever the output of the architect, will be given to the third party who constructs the building. Are we all clear on this? I just need one yes at least. Yes, great. So with this, the construction starts now. We have a plan. We have a plan that has been derived from the architect, and the architect has taken the input. Now, in case the owner doesn't visit the site at all, and the architect has given the plan and the construction work has started, and the entire building has been completed. Now imagine that the architect has not submitted the design to the client, and client has a different opinion about the building, and the construction being completed. Let's take in 2 years or 1.5 years. Okay. After this period, the concession has got over. One day the client comes to the site and visits the property. Now he is heartbroken. He asks something else, and the building is looking different, completely different from what he has given. So his requirements has not been ported into a building. Now what he can do? What is the possibility here? What are all the possibilities here? Now, changing the architect, yes, it can be done, but the damage is already done here, right? Rebuild will make you to spend another 1.5 crores. Will you rebuild now? Yeah, modification again in a concession home. Only if you have used reusable components, certain components only will be allowed to modify, right? Not all the components you will be able to modify within house. So in this case, the damage is already been done. So now it is completely irreversible. The amount you have spent is going to get for a task, and whatever the amount you have lost, right? Yeah, we can adapt to the new one. Whatever you have spent and the effort, time, and the money you have spent on a project, it is not going to come back, right? No, why we can't claim is that the agreement will be like whatever the architect has instructed, the third party would have constructed. Correct? So we cannot claim it from the third party because it has been instructed from the architect, and the approval has not been from the client. The mistake here is the architect design should have been approved from the client rather than from the initial stage. There has not been any collaboration between the architect and the owner. Correct? This could have been avoided in case these two parties had been in complete collaboration from the beginning. The initial waterfall life cycle methodology, right? It played a vital role to have this kind of methodology so that we will be arriving at the conclusion or the final product. Only at the end we will come to know after it has been delivered to the client. Either the client will say it is a very good product, or he will be completely heartbroken, like this case what we discussed right now. Okay, so in order to come out of this particular scenario where huge loss happens due to this misunderstanding between the client and the architect, or from the architect to the third party, we have a diagram or a representation. Usually, I'm sure that you would have gone through that many times. We within the industry used to say that requirements has to pertain from the requirements till the production. And unless and until it doesn't move until to the production, right, it is going to fail somewhere or the other. I will show you.
So can you please zoom this one?
Okay.
Oh, okay, sir. Okay.
Yeah. So this is how the customer would have explained. The first picture, right? It would have been a swing. The customer would have explained he required a swing in a tree. Is the first picture clearly explains what a customer explained it. This is how a customer would explain, because he is not a technical guy. He is not into architect something, right? So he would have asked for a window, a panoramic window. This would have been a raw requirement given by the customer. In a similar way, this is how the picture would be if the customer had explained it. And do you know how the project leader would have understood it? He would have understood it this way, where the swing will not swing itself, right? And the engineer who had listened to the project leader, who works under project leader, would have designed, because the swing has to somehow swing, right? So what he had done is he had given a support to the branches and made the swing to swing. But here he has cut the tree without asking the client, right? And now engineer has designed it. So the architect part and the design part is over. Now the programmer has to write the code. So he has written the codes in such a way that the swing has been tied to the tree rather than it is allowed to swing. You get the point here? So now the sales executive has to sell the product. So in case this product has to be sold to another customer, you don't get confused. I will inform the first one who gave the design as a client, and this one going to be the customer. Okay, so this customer, whoever thinks that he is going to get this, like a sofa kind of thing being hanging in the branch, right? What happens is, there used to be documentation where nothing has been documented unless other than there is a sky and a lawn. And what operations has been installed is only the swinging thread that supports the swing has been installed, and how the customer has built is irrational, and they have been built like heavily such that they could have even built a roller coaster ride. Okay. And how the help desk will support is that there is no tree at all. So only this stem, the remaining bark stem that has been kept under the sun, right? That's why the help desk will support. Actually, what the customer really needed is this one. So this is how a requirement could have been misunderstood if we follow a waterfall lifecycle methodology, where the complete output or the product has been already delivered and the damage has already been done, and the billing cycle has already went wrong. So now the customer comes back to you saying that I am not satisfied. Now what will you be able to do? Changing the architect, rebuilding or modifying or adapting the new one can only incur some more cost, but it will not deliver you the product the same cost, right? The cost is going to differ, the schedule is going to differ, and if it is going to be a very critical product, right, it can even hit the timelines. Many medical appliances, many medical sciences have started using software that has been accurate to the level of 0.01 mm, right? They do surgeries nowadays. The robotics that do surgeries are there. Think of an application that fails there. So the criticality level differs based on the industry where the software is used. So in terms of understanding from this, right, what is the takeaway is, once the customer requirement is being misunderstood and is not captured until the entire life cycle methodology, it is going to fail. So in order to avoid this kind of a conflict, to avoid this kind of an issue where this life cycle methodology fails, the waterfall life cycle methodology fails, there comes the rescue methodology, which is nothing but the agile methodology. So they had an agile methodology only to help you out so that the customer doesn't get disconnected from the team who does the work. Are you all with me? In this slide, we can see the mindset of the customer being denoted in the terms of emoji. The upper one is nothing but the non-agile thing, where the customer is happy only if he gets a car. Okay. But what happens in non-agile, right? The customer would have been shown a tire. No, he is not happy. If he is given 2 tires connected, then also he is not happy. If he is given a car without any roof, even then he will not be happy. Only if he gets a complete car, he is happy. Okay. So if you follow waterfall lifecycle model, only after the product has been completely built, you will be able to meet the customer, and customer will be happy or unhappy based upon your understanding of the requirements, which is completely risky. Whereas in agile, right, you would have given him a skating board where the customer says he is not happy, and you could have given him a skating board with the support. Again, the customer is not happy, but he is neutral that somehow he is able to travel, and you could have got the collaboration with the customer would have proven that he needs something else other than the skating board. So now you are giving him a bicycle. Again, he is neutral. It allows him to move, but it is not allowing him to move faster. So to provide the travel to be more faster, right? We are providing a bike. Now he is happy, but he is not extremely happy or completely satisfied customer only will give us repeated projects, right? So he is not going to give us repeated project, but he's okay. It solves his purpose, but think that he wants to take his friend or his spouse with him or his kids with him. This is not going to be the perfect solution. And if he needs airflow, and this car has been designed in such a way that it accommodates 4 people, and also it provides the airflow. So the customer is going to be happy and is going to come back to you for the next project as well. Are you all with me here? So Agile is definitely an incremental, iterative kind of thing that is going to help you to develop a product that is going to satisfy the customer needs at all times. So coming back to Agile Sprint. We all have come across terms like sprint, right? What is a sprint? Anyone? What is a sprint? Correct, Madhav Kumar. Yes, you are right. Any specific running, as mentioned by Sumita, yes, it is running. It is going to be an iterative running here, and the duration is mentioned like 2 weeks by Madhav. Kudos, guys. It is exactly the same. Both the answers are right. Sprint, right? It should not exceed 2 to 4 weeks. Why? Because anything that exceeds 2 to 4 weeks is not going to be treated as a sprint. Sprint will be having this kind of life cycle what been showed in this slide. I will explain each and every terms in detail. So product backlog, sprint, and the incremental software. So these are the terms you need to be well versed in when you start using sprint. So what is the product backlog? We had an example of constructing a house, right? So house construction will have multiple floor plans, and each floor needs different types of materials to be used, different types of plants to be used, and different types of workers to get engaged in. Not every construction requires brick, and not every construction requires wood, right? So each and every construction and the construction worker level worker level segregation has to happen. Only then you can segregate those works. So in case construction worker who knows how to build with bricks being given with all the items, that particular requirement alone can be tagged as a single line item in the product backlog, which is nothing but your requirement. And the carpenter, whoever does the work with the wood, can be tagged the line of wooden furniture works. All these requirements will be tagged under carpenter. So each and every line item will have a separate requirement that pertains to separate individual activity that is unique to that particular line item alone. Are you all with me here? So what is the product backlog? It is nothing but a requirement that has been written in a unique fashion so that it has a separate line items that is having unique deliverables or a unique requirements. Okay. So what is a sprint backlog is that from the product backlog, you will arrive at sprint backlog where it will have all the user stories that has to be going through that particular sprint. So a particular sprint, as I mentioned earlier, it is going to be 2 to 4 weeks. Okay. So this is called as the storyboard. What is a storyboard? We have been using the terminology called as requirements, right? Here in Agile, we call it as user stories. Why? Because each and every user story will carry the user's requirements, and each and every user story will be tagged in. Just imagine this storyboard is in front of you. You will be able to, this is called as the storyboard. So each and every sticky notes, think that yellow, green and pink are all sticky notes. Okay. So each and every sticky notes here will have an user requirement. Like one can say that the building has to be painted in white, and one can say that the building has to have 4 rooms, and one can say that these many workers have to involve in first floor, and these many rooms have to be in second floor. So these kind of stuffs can be there in each and every sticky notes. So each and every sticky notes is called as the user stories here. So having this kind of different user stories will help you to track the progress, will help you to know the current status of the user story, and what is pending you will be able to track. And based on the customer satisfaction, we arrive at the conclusion that the product is successful, right? For every sprint, there is a concept called as definition of done, or we term it as acceptance criteria. What is the acceptance criteria is, to give it as a simple example, I will give you a simple example. You say that the work has been completed. For example, your professor gives you some work, some assignment, and you complete the assignment and you submit the records. You usually submit the records, right? So you submit the record, and what will be the reaction of your professor if you are not completed it fully? He may scold you. He may say that this is still not yet completed, right? So in this case, if the professor is not satisfied, or the professor says that this particular requirement has not met the expectation from your professor, then it's going to be failed, right? So in that case, we need to arrive at a solution that what are the requirements that have been specified by the professor to submit the record, so that it passes his expectations and you get full marks for that record submission, right? So that is called as the acceptance criteria. You will arrive at that acceptance criteria, and it will be marked as definition of done. So once this definition of done has been agreed, you know where to pitch in and what to do and what not to do to arrive at that successful user story completion. Are you all with me? So what is definition of done? It is acceptance criteria. What is a user story? an user story? Great. Sumita, you will definitely do well in Agile methodology. Guys, I want you to answer for this. And what is the sprint? Other than Sumita and Madhav, I want anyone to answer. What is a sprint? Yeah, in terms of Agile, Saravana Priya, what is a sprint? Or what is the duration of a sprint? Let me put it this way. Weeks, great, Saranapriya. And this 2 weeks or 2 to 4 weeks is the sprint duration. And great, Saranapriya, Sumita, and Madhav for having me answered and not making me to feel alone here. This particular sprint duration, right, should not exceed 2 to 4 weeks, so that after each and every sprint, we will be interacting with the client. Let me show you that. So this is how the typical non-agile project used to work. They will be planning, the design will happen, development will happen, and the testing will happen. This entire duration will take around 3 to 6 months. After 6 months duration, it will be deployed, and the customer will come to know that this is the product that has been delivered as part of the the waterfall lifecycle methodology and the particular project that they have requested for. Whereas here in Agile, what they do is the planning, the design, the development, QA testing, everything has to get completed within 2 to 4 weeks. So how this is made possible? What will be a Scrum team and how it will usually happen is, a Scrum team is formed. Basically, a Scrum team is nothing but a group of collaborators. Typically, it will have 5 to 8 or 9 individuals maximum. Okay, so who work toward completing the projects and deliverables. The fundamental Scrum team comprises of one Scrum Master and one product owner and a group of developers and even the tester. Within a Scrum team, there is no rank or hierarchy. Okay, so usually how they follow is there will be a manager, there will be a developer, there will be a tester. So this kind of hierarchy, even to reach the higher designation people, you need to follow the hierarchy. You cannot reach the director or an VP directly within the industry. Whereas in a Scrum team, everyone will be forming and cohesively, so that all are into similar, they are not given any rank or hierarchy. Okay, so it will be a cohesive unit, we can easily say that everyone will be of goal oriented. So rather than maintaining your hierarchy, here the importance is given to the goal. So Scrum teams will be using the Scrum framework to guide their project management process. A Scrum framework is nothing but a key principle of continuous improvement, flexibility, and your team work will be completely respectful. So each and everyone within the team will have a complete interaction. Okay. Whereas in waterfall, right, the development team will do something. The testing will be sitting in silos, and they will be working in different focus. And your requirements gathering team will be in a different area, and your business analysts who have gathered those requirements will be in a different area. So this collaboration will not happen in a development team, whereas here, right, it will be in a day-to-day basis. They will be having a stand-up call. They will be discussing each and every progress. We saw that storyboard, right? So in that, if you see that the user stories, the backlogs, whatever it is in progress, whatever is pending, and what have been done will be clearly tracked in that storyboard. And this call will happen on day-to-day basis, and we will be part of that stand-up calls. Each and every stand-up call, each and every member will be allowed to speak, and their limitation, what are the success factors they have gone through, what are the hindrances that stops them from working, and what are the dependencies they have from other teams, those will be discussed. So this will allow the teams to have a complete interaction, and each and every working product will come before the comprehensive documentation, as we saw in that 4 main values. So what is the use of this Scrum team? Many successful industry have adopted this agile framework, and this Scrum, right, facilitates efficient work so that project completion goals and the results or the end product will be often enhanced value. This happens simultaneously. Each and every team will be working simultaneously rather than one team working for, and the other team is waiting for the output of the other. Right? You get my point, right? So this workflow is made as a progressive one, and all the work happens simultaneously. Workflow processes are made very clear because during the stand-up calls, right, we need to focus on the task and the end goals. So these Scrum teams will move in phases like project planning, release planning, sprint planning, sprints, daily Scrum, sprint review, and retrospective. Each of these phases should be collaborative. If you take waterfall life cycle methodology, a tester will give the defects after the development has been done, and it will retract to the developer from the testing team. This developer team will not know that these many defects have been arrived at the testing at all, unless and until it has been reported, and it can take even weeks to get back to them. And this developer, once he gets the defects, right, he will be fixing it, and he will again give it back to tester, and this can even have a dependency, and it can wait in the queue as well, because the testing team will be waiting until the development team develops the product. Whereas in this agile, right, each and everyone will be working in a same location that has been sitting together. Imagine for all the eight are sitting together. And this team, they will have a constant interaction. Tester will be talking to the developer will be talking to the business owner, the product owner will be giving the inputs, the customer will be shown the demo. So each and every day, all the team members will be efficiently collaborating under this framework, so that we don't make any costly mistake like the one we have that has happened in the house construction example, right? It will not happen due to that we can avoid many labor costs, and it can be and the return on investment from these products will be highly effective, and it increases the management perspective as well. As a team, if you work as an agile, right, it even improves your team moral, so that because there is no substitute for face-to-face collaboration, right? So it will be self-organizing coalition, and it will have a regular feedback from the customer as well. The customer is going to be in touch with you for every sprint release, so you are not going to miss any requirement, and you are not going to make the customer unhappy after the end of the product release. Rather, in any sprint that fails, it can be immediately added to the product backlog, and it is going to follow through the cycle, right? So now we are going to do agile. So what will be the first thing you do when you construct an house? After you have a plan, what will be the next step? You have a plan and you have a land. So to start the work, what is required? Hey guys, you need money, right? Financial deeds has to be decided for any project to be take off. To take off any project, right? The finance will play the major role. And to decide on the financial part and on the schedule part, you need to arrive at the estimates. So to arrive at the estimates, we saw the user stories, right? Those are nothing but the requirements of customers. Once these user stories we pick in, right, to segregate those into different sprints itself, they need to be prioritized, which will be complex based on their complexity. So to derive at the complexity, everyone within the team, we say that 5 to 8 members will be forming a Scrum, right? So each member will be having their own opinion of how to arrive at that particular weightage. So we introduce, or we have an estimation approach called as a planning poker method, where each and everyone is given a card. So similar to this picture, right? They will be given a card which will carry weightage like 0, 1, 2, 3, 5, 8, 13, 20, 40, like that. So if that particular user story, that particular member feels that it is of higher weightage, he can have a higher number like 8, 5, Okay, and if he feels, if some other member feels that it is going to be of lower value, I mean lower complexity, he can select a card that is having a lesser value, like 0, 1. Okay, so what happens is these cards are distributed simultaneously to each and one of us, and each one will be raising their card after at the same time at the end of that session, and they need to give the numbers. They need to read out the numbers loudly, so that they need to discuss the story, why this particular user story they feel it relates to that particular complexity. Okay, so once each and everyone share their views, some of the discussion points will be like, how should we handle the work? How many people are expected to get involved? What skills are necessary to work on that story? How should we tackle any roadblocks that delay the progress? Okay, so the group will also try to learn more about the story and ask even much questions to understand it better. In this case, based on the complexity, right, they will prioritize this sprints, which one to go first and which one to go next. Okay, if a player shows a higher card, he needs to get the consensus from the other group members as well, right? So he need to break out more points why he thinks it is having a higher complexity. Now the group can move forward and work on the next story unless if they reach at the consensus. Okay, so everyone needs to agree on that same point, and once they agree, right, even before agreeing, they can have multiple views, and they may attempt to convince their own teammates to understand that it is completely different. You have understood it right. It is not such a complex thing. It is completely easier thing to complete, and not that much of an effort needs to be spent on this particular user story. And they may have some points to substantiate that as well. Okay. And what are the benefits here? We estimate the task relative to each other. So each one within the boat, right, they will be sailing on the same boat, so that the estimates and tasks will be relative to each other, and lending an equal voice to everyone, so that everyone gets a chance to say that their views are being brought onto the table. Okay, so in this we encourage that everyone have that team equality, and even the gaps within the understanding can be completely eliminated if we follow this planning poker. And there are much more things to discuss. I think this session has been scheduled until 1. I don't want to take much of time here. I will complete with the sprint retrospective, and the last slide will be on AGILE. So what is the sprint retrospective? After every sprint, we usually have this 2 to 4 week sprint, right? So after the sprint has been released to the customer, it will be released like there will be a sprint demo being conducted, and after the sprint demo has been completely done and dusted, we will be moving on to the sprint retrospective. Why it is done is, we need to know what went well and what didn't went well. So what worked or went well will be your first thing to discuss during this retrospective meeting. And the second thing, what caused problems, or what failed to work properly, or which didn't go well, will be discussed, and what can be done differently in case you do a sprint and you arrive at an alternate approach rather than following this particular approach. If you follow this approach, it would have been efficient, and it would have made our budget very less prominent to high cost. I mean, you could have developed the product in a very less cost itself. Then there would be an alternative approach would have also been arrived, and it would have got discussed. Why it is done is, when the next sprint, after sprint 1, you have gotten some ideas, right? That will be implemented in the immediate sprint itself. That's where the sprint retrospective will play a vital role. And there are differences, right? Doing agile and being agile. Doing agile is you will be doing it in a periodic fashion of having the stand-up calls. You will have daily scrums, you will have sprints, you will have the storyboards, user stories, whatever I've showed, right? But you will not have the agile mindset, or you will not have the intent of what to achieve based upon this agile will be missing when you just do it for the namesake. And many people think that following agile is missing those documentations. No, it is not like missing documentation. It is to increase your productivity and focus on the sprints rather than on the documentation. Some ability to adapt to changing the priorities will be when you do, whereas the continuous retrospective things will help you to learn many things continuously, and it will definitely help us to delight the customer. And a happy customer is the best business you could ever do in your life. And anything that excites the customer, anything that brings back the customer to you will make you a successful individual. Team guys, always focus on the impact you create to this world. How much impact you create to this world will determine your level of success. For example, an YouTuber, his success is determined by the views he gets, right? In the same way, an actor who has much fan following will be treated as the best actor, right? So your success is determined by the impact you bring to the society, and your impact will be completely or directly proportional to your success. So have an impact to the system, or have an impact to as much as people as you can in your life, so that you will be successful. With this note, I complete this session because we have multiple things to discuss. I think this will be helpful and a knowledge transition. I think I have done the justice to give you an overall overview of the agile methodology that has been followed within the industry. We may have follow-up sessions if required. Let's see how it goes. Thanks everyone for listening to me patiently, and over to you, Balaji.
Thank you, Sati and Rakesh. Students, do you have any queries? You can post up the queries at chat chat box. If you have any queries, you can ask.
Yeah, we will wait for a few minutes. I'm expecting some interesting questions from you guys.
So I have a question, Rakesh.
Yeah, yes, Balaji.
So the certified Scrum Master is that once the student joins in the company, and they can take up, or they can take up now itself while they being in graduation, under the graduation.
Certified Scrum Master, they can take it now, but the thing is, it will not be considered, and it will not help their career because it needs to be renewed then and there. Like it will have an expiry date. For each and every year, they need to attend the sessions. Like there will be Scrum calls, there will be Scrum group of Scrum that will be happening all around places to get those points, to get the certification active, right? They need to submit those points each and every year. So if they get the certificate, right, they need to attend these Scrum meetings, any forums that happens. They need to give a presentation about the Scrum to keep those certification active. So I would recommend after they complete or after they join the organization, it would be an best way or an efficient thing to do.
Okay, thank you. Mostly, what kind of job placements, or what will be the mandatory one to be studied in terms of software engineering?
Yeah, see, software engineering, it is an ocean actually to say. It is being evolving at a very rapid pace. Each and every day there is going to be an development in the software industry. Agile itself has been more than 10 to 15 years, I believe. It has already shaken the industry, and it has been in the industry now. So when you people, right, get into the organization, you will definitely hear these words: Agile, Scrum, user stories and all, because waterfall life cycle, as we would say, it has already met its sunset. So Agile is the one that is going to take place for at least for the next 5 to 10 years. There can be an improvement in each and every technology, right? So every technology will go for an change. Similar way, every methodology will also go for a change. There can be newer technologies, newer methodologies that have been adapted. So this life cycle is right. It is going to be an iterative one. So Agile can have a change. There can be multiple versions, but the essence, what we discuss right now, it is going to stay forever. The Scrum is not going to change. The duration for Scrum is not going to change. The principles and the values are not going to change. what can change is that approach. How we are going to adapt within the project may change and will change. It has to change for having a continuous improvement, because we will talk about continuous improvement as part of Agile. So being Agile itself is adapting to change. So it will change. And one more thing I would suggest you all guys, please have any kind of an approach like reading books for 1 hour or 2 hours per day. Have it as a concrete habit with you, so that it will definitely prove to be a very fruitful one when you complete your course. For example, when we were studying, right, during our master's degree, we will have empty amount of time. We don't know what needs to be done. We used to browse through the IEEE papers. The social media and all was not very good at that time. I would say it was the best times of our lives, where the social medias are not that much active. For even to browse for an article, we used to hit our head like anything to get that material. But nowadays it is rightly available. So don't lose focus. Don't get diverted. Have a focus. I would recommend a book to you all. If you could read it, it is available in many of the audiobooks format also. It is being supported. Ikigai. And just typing in the chat window. This is a Japanese concept, right? So what it speaks is completely phenomenal. It will definitely change your life. Whatever you have aspiring, right, it will help you to get that. It will make the your goal very clear, so that once the clarity is achieved, right, your focus is not going to shift. Once your focus is not going to shift, you are definitely going to reach your goal. So be focused, be I would say be agile. Always be dynamic, be ready to adapt to any change. It is a fast moving world. We all are traveling at a very fast pace. So be very, very agile. Try to focus. Don't get diverted to any of this Insta or any reels. Yes, they are good. If you focus on the good ones, it is good. But don't lose your focus towards your goal. Okay, so have fun while reading. Don't take it as a separate thing, separate line item to get achieved. It should be like, it should be your passion. Your passion should be your goal. So this book will help you to arrive at your passion and arrive at your goal. So have focus. If you could read it within this weekend, it would be very useful for you. It could change your life.
Thank you, Rakesh. Thank you for your informative session. Hope that this could be a knowledge transfer for the students. At least they would have understood some concepts in Agile in a detailed way. So I would like to thank all the participants and the other faculties and Department of Computer Science and Engineering. I hope in future we may associate with you for further sessions. Thank you, and thank you one and all. In chat session, I have posted the feedback form, and also I will post this feedback form in our group, the students group as well. Thank you all. Thank you one and all.
Yeah, thank you all for your patience. I believe I have done justice for this 1 hour, and sorry for wasting your weekend. I think it would have lightened your agile methodology questionnaires, and whatever doubts you are free to ask. I will type my mail ID as well. You can definitely reach me out there. And I would love to see those feedbacks, Balaji. If you could share it after they all fill it, that would be the most satisfying thing.
Yes, I do. No issues.
Thanks, and thank you all. Happy weekend to all.